bet doesn't mean strength.
No, Marcello seems very hard to read, especially after not getting to see his hand in that earlier pot where he had rivered the full house. You could tell Tom was very confused. Marcello firing nearly full pot here. I'm sorry, more than full pot here.
Can't really be value betting with two pair. Can you value bet anything but a flush?
Oh, I think he can.
Yeah?
I think he certainly can. With Tom checking back the turn, there's a chance Tom has rivered a flush here, but more often than not, he'll have a pretty medium strength hand. I think Tom rarely beats a king in this spot. He pays off with just a 5. Not an unreasonable play, I don't think.
It's not how it feels right now to Tom.
Tom's so far very reluctant to fold to river bets, but thus far he's always been shown the goods. We'll have to see if he adjusts.
Marcello is a successful Italian businessman who has only been playing Texas Hold'em for 3 years. He's already advanced to sitting at some of the biggest cash games under the name Luck Express.
I started to play poker very young, but a different kind of poker. It's Italian poker, and was only between friends. It's a game with 32 or 36 cards that in Italy, when I was young, everybody used to play. This is one of the reasons that Italian players are often aggressive, because it's a game very aggressive. But I left this poker 20 years ago. I play this kind of poker maybe 3 years now, maybe less. I didn't study a book. I didn't talk with any poker player. I've done everything by myself. And even in Omaha, I start Omaha this year, without reading, without directly playing with the best poker player.
Welcome back. Les Ambassador Casino in London, where Marcello tries to do what no one has done yet. Beat Tom Dwan.
Raise to 3,000 total. Call.
And Isaac Durrrr really mixing things up.
Just flatting with the 8s. Yeah, we never saw that in his match against Sammy, I don't think.
Made such a great point earlier about how in Durr's match with Sammy, he basically never called a river bet. Already, early on, we've seen him call every river bet.
He's barely thought about folding, yeah. He can beat a bluff. He wants to see it. I'll have to see how both players adjust to that state of affairs.
Yeah, the first level is Marcello saying, I can bet everything for tremendous value, but the second level is Durrr says, well, I know he's thinking that.
Exactly. Can really go either way. It just keeps going back and forth. Should you bluff more or less if you've been called a bunch of times in a row recently?
Sorry.
And the action completely stopped after the flop. Is Durrr sort of guilty overall of not extracting enough value there?
I don't think so. I think that checking and letting Marcello bluff can be a good play there, and once the ace hits on the river, betting for value with the 8s is very optimistic.
There were 2 heads-up matches going on at the same time.
Yeah.
It could be a better setup, you know what I mean?
2 heads up
Not
live.
enough action here for Tom.
That's a good
Like
idea.
me versus you and Hillary versus Sammy there.
I think we'll spend 5 hours to do that. Huh?
Might make it easier to stay
Like
awake.
500 hands in it?
But would it,
No, maybe more than.
6 or 7.
it's something
But
that's
then
been
there's a
mentioned
game after.
several times. I mean, if you consider what percentage of the population, general population, has something like ADD, compared to the percentage of the poker population that has it, maybe 1,000 to 1, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons for it. For one thing, the poker world is full of very bright people who a traditional career path didn't appeal to for one reason or another.
But they're definitely capable, as is Marcello, of doing about 12 or 13 different things at once.
Mm-hmm.
Similar hands, but it's Durrrr on the 3-bet.
Right. So far, he's checked every flop after 3-betting. And I don't expect the trend to change here. He's flopped a sort of archetypal checking hand here.
Check.
Sort of too strong, not strong enough to bet, too strong to not strong enough to check sort of thing. Too strong to check.
Too strong to bluff with, not strong enough to value bet with, so you kind of just gotta check and hope to pick off a bluff or something.
That's what,
Now he's turned 2 pair.
15,000.
that's what I meant.
Now he's hoping to bet twice and get called down for sure. There are plenty of hands he loses to, flushes and straights abound, but with Marcello having checked back the flop, Tom has to think he's best here the vast majority of the time.
Can Marcello kind of say to himself he would usually have bet a flush draw on the flop?
Against another player, you could say that, but Tom has checked every flop after 3-betting thus far. I don't think you can say he'd usually bet anything.
A very well measured fold by Marcello.
Yeah, good laydown there.
Could have gotten him into a lot of trouble that hand.
Absolutely. The thing about Marcello's hand there, though, is that it's nearly impossible for Tom not to be drawing quite live against it if he's not already best. A 6, 8, or 10 makes a gut shot, any spade makes a flush draw. Having discounted those, he has to have a 2, 3, or 4 in his hand to not have at least 2 overcards.
2,000.
Raise up to 2,000.
A min raised.
Raise up to 14,000.
And a massive re-raise. No, it wasn't. Only
Dealer
7, I
misspoke.
believe.
9. 7 more to call. Interesting here, Tom had just called a raise earlier with 8s, but now it's a smaller raise from Marcello, only the minimum, not 3 times, and he decides to 3-bet with 7s.
So with
Wow, and Marcello calls with just 7-5 off. These players are not going to be giving pots up before the flop.
it's great. And we may finally get a chance to see a continuation bet. A lot of reasons
Possibly.
to do it, right?
Well, 7s are quite strong on this board. And yeah, Tom's first continuation bet of the match.
13,000.
Marcello has just nothing here. 2 overs to the 4, but... And yeah, Tom will take it down. With that bet, Tom hoping to get value from a 4 or ace high, flush draw. Marcello can even float with a couple of big cards there, like a queen 10 or something.
This game has got interested observers on the rail, and Durrrr there, he's the one they're watching. It's amazing how Dwan seems to be able to dictate the pace of a game no matter who he's playing. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's not in an aggressive